Now I saw Wes Anderson's new movie The Phoenician Scheme in theaters and I rather enjoyed it. Come to think of it, this was actually the first Wes Anderson movie that I've actually seen in theaters, to be honest. Now when talking about a Wes Anderson movie, there are just certain things you can always rely on from a Wes Anderson movie. The style and energy and comedic writing to the movies are all obviously things that people think about when they think about Wes Anderson movies. And even when I do watch a Wes Anderson movie that I'm kind of disappointed by, such as A French Dispatch, which is a movie that I reviewed in a previous episode if you're interested in seeing it, there are almost certain things I'm always able to praise about his movie, such as his editing and overall filmmaking and technical aspects, as well as how thought out his overall style is. Now the main reason why I didn't really enjoy The French Dispatch so much is because I felt the story and characters were just kind of lacking and found difficult to be invested into. And when I think of my favorite Wes Anderson movie out of the ones I've seen, Moonrise Kingdom, I think that movie does a really great job of manifesting all those great aspects together. And I am happy to say that this movie, The Phoenician Scheme, does do a better job with its story than The French Dispatch in my opinion. The story in this movie definitely feels a lot more focused and well thought out than his previous movie, The French Dispatch. Characters are far more interesting and much more relatable than the ones in The French Dispatch in my opinion. Not to mention that I thought everyone was very well cast with the exception of Tom Hanks and Bryan Cranston. They weren't a huge part of this movie, but they did feel a little bit out of place if I'm being perfectly honest. But they're not there for too long and they're not overly too important to the actual plot, so it's not a huge deal, but definitely something I thought I should mention. Benicio del Toro and Michael Cera did a great job in this movie, and they're the two highlights of this movie in terms of performances in my opinion. Michael Cera's character certainly has a lot of times to shine and does a really great job with the comedic effect of this movie. Speaking of which, the comedic writing in this movie is far better than The French Dispatch in my opinion. It feels as if it flows much more naturally with the story and characters in and of itself than The French Dispatch. Now I want to talk about the narrative of this movie a little bit. Now the narrative is kind of repetitive in the first part of this movie, and I don't mean that in a bad way, and it certainly is able to be very entertaining. Even with how repetitive this movie was in the first part of it, I still found that it would be very engaging to me personally, and more importantly, it does a good job of making it feel as if it's all building to something, which is something I greatly appreciate. The very beginning of this movie does a really great job of setting the scene, tone, and atmosphere, and it does a really great job of making the pacing feel more energetic and as if it's moving along at a brisk pace. And something really notable about this movie is that I think it breaks the trend of Wes Anderson's movies constantly feeling more style over substance, as it's been more prevalent in recent years with his recent movies, especially The French Dispatch in my opinion. I haven't seen Asteroid City yet, but I would imagine something along those lines based off what I've heard, but I'll wait till after I see it until I pass my judgment on it. But definitely considering that this movie seems more story focused, I'm definitely interested to see the cultural conversation around his movies now. It seems like he's getting back on track and I'm all here for it. Now I mentioned how in the beginning of this movie I felt that it was repetitive, but at the same time was still able to be entertaining. At a certain point later on in this movie, I almost felt like the movie went on for a little bit too long, and I do feel bad for saying that considering that this movie is only an hour and 45 minutes. But to me personally, I do feel as if there was just a general uninvestment throughout the ending of this movie. I really appreciate how Wes Anderson is willing to tackle different themes in his movies, and the main message and theme that was explored in this movie I thought was very well done. I also want to quickly mention that this is definitely one of Wes Anderson's more violent movies, and what I mean by violence I obviously mean cartoonish violence, but I think it really works well with his overall style. Pretty much from the very beginning scene of this movie, it does a great job of establishing that effect. Now overall I don't have too much more to say about this movie, and overall I just think it's a very good Wes Anderson movie. If you like Wes Anderson, then definitely check this out, as it feels as if he's getting back on track to making some of his better movies. If you've never cared much for Wes Anderson, then don't watch this movie, it won't change your mind. As for me, this one gets a solid 7 out of 10.